What's up? I wanted to give my first impressions of Dandadan. I'm gonna give a short recap of the first 5 episodes and give a review of the anime so far, pending a review and rank of the anime overall once it's been completed. Spoilers for the first 5 episodes. Episode 1, titled That's How Love Starts, You Know, is an establishing episode. We get introduced to our 2 main characters, Ayase, aka Momo, who just got dumped by her boyfriend and wants a boyfriend like the actor/singer Ken Takakura, believing in ghosts but not aliens, and Ken, aka Okurun, a loner nerd of the occult with no friends, believing in aliens but not ghosts, daring each other to travel to the site of each other's respective topics. Momo seeing aliens who want to steal bananas, awakening her psychic powers, and Ken seeing a ghost who wants to gobble his weenie and becoming cursed, gaining powers. We learn the reason why Momo believes in ghosts and why Ken believes in aliens. Momo having a strong connection and appreciation for her grandma, and Ken wanting friends, not feeling he had any option but to reach out to aliens. But after seeing Momo reach out to him and stand up for him willingly, he wants to keep her as a friend. After escaping the aliens, they realize they need to break the curse Turbo Granny put on Ken, who's finally introducing himself to Momo and hitting every nail on the head along the way.
Oh, Takakura Ken desu.
Right off the bat, smooth animation. Anime likes to play with perspective. Episode 2. Momo, being a fangirl of the Japanese actor/singer Ken Takakura, forbids Ken from saying his own name, which is coincidentally the same, giving him the nickname Okurun cause he likes the occult. They go to Momo's house after removing the barrier that protects from evil spirits. Okurun enters. They change clothes and get closer with one another before they hear a doorbell ring. Meeting their first opponent, unable to escape and unable to get rid of the alien without hurting Okurun, he opts to fight, asking Momo if she can suppress the curse on his mind but not his body. Then he can fight. Working together, they defeat the alien and set the barrier back. But Momo ends up passing out with the curse no longer suppressed. Turbo Granny takes over Okurun. Episode 3. We meet Momo's grandmother, Santa, who heads home from a psychic reading where everybody thinks she's wrong. She fights Turbo Granny and rescues her granddaughter, who mends their relationship from past pain. We also see her grandmother's readings were actually correct and it was the top story. Okurun needs to beat Turbo Granny in a race to get his dong and body back, and Momo's granny can't help since it's basically out of her jurisdiction. She gives them a plan and special clothes to protect them in their fight as they set off to the tunnel to fight Turbo Granny. Momo changes out of the special clothes her granny gave her and into something she prefers. Episode 4. At the tunnel and ready to challenge Turbo Granny, Momo takes her granny's advice, but counting in an odd way, Turbo Granny gets the upper hand on them before the roles are reversed, and instead of just cursing Okurun, she ends up putting her real body into him, allowing Momo to see her aura and grab it. The bound spirit, coming out in the form of a crab, attempts to save Turbo Granny. And chases Momo and Okurun to the edge of the city before falling into their trap where Momo's granny is waiting in her respected jurisdiction to intervene and help. The crab and presumably Turbo Granny as well are defeated. We see several girls in high school uniforms and learn that the tunnel was an area once used to violate girls, then chop them up, leaving their bodies to rot, where Turbo Granny came to supposedly comfort them. With everything seemingly back to normal, Okurun and Momo seal their friendship, saying that they'll see each other tomorrow. Episode 5. Momo and Okurun spend the whole day thinking about how much they want to talk to each other. It's actually cute. She wants to talk to him about aliens, and he wants to talk to her about ghosts. They end up barely missing each other the whole day before literally running into each other. They have a little friend moment before they part ways for the day, and the friends are thinking what I'm thinking. Okarun goes to the restroom and ends up seeing that something's missing. He goes to tell Momo, who says she doesn't want to speak to him. Seeing a girl play Okarun, she drops a pan on her head and leaves with him as they talk about how they felt to one another and apologize. He tells her his balls are missing, where they go back to Momo's house, where together Momo and her grandmother extract the spirit that was inside Okarun and seal it in a Mineki Neko doll, which is those begging cats you'll sometimes see in restaurants. Pissing off Okarun, we see that only her consciousness was moved to the doll, leaving her powers inside Okarun, and the only way for her to go back to normal is if the grandma helps, taking away any and all leverage Turbo Granny had. Momo speaks with Turbo Granny and they agree to trade her powers for Okarun's balls, but she lost them somewhere. With this anime, right off the bat, we're hit with smooth animation, and it's established early that this anime likes to play with perspective, angles, CGI, colors, light, and horror-esque visuals. First, let's discuss perspective. When I first saw this happening, it reminded me of Furikuri, which if you've seen the anime, you'll know it also uses perspective in its animation and storytelling. In episode 1 alone, Dandadan displays different shots featuring perspective that help paint the picture of the story, whether it be to display emotion, how hard a strike was based on its impact, or as I said earlier, to help tell the story. Because of this, we get several different shots that display perspective, both major and minor, all throughout this anime so far, and I enjoy it. A good example being both kicks from Momo, as far as impact helped by perspective. Another good example of perspective so far is when Momo is walking through the hospital versus Okarun walking in the tunnel. The hospital is given depth thanks to the perspective we're viewing Momo from, and vice versa for Okarun, where we get less depth as he's not in as spacious of an area. Something else this anime uses to its advantage is its camera angles. Some shots are done to help progress the story in an interesting way, while others are meant to invoke what a character is feeling, how it feels to be around something, or how far we are from something. A minor example of angles is when Momo and Okarun are arguing in episode 1. Instead of having the camera just aim straight at their faces during the close-ups, we get their faces at an angle, which checks out because right before that, we get this goofy shot of them. I thought this was cool to point out because Momo and Okarun are pretty much the same height until he transforms. Okarun can look shorter than her because sometimes he stands slouched, but for the most part, they're the same height. So I thought the shot was pretty cool because thanks to this shot, we're still in that goofy moment. We've actually been brought into that goofy moment, if that makes sense. A major example of angles can be when they're fighting Turbo Granny. We get a lot of cool angled shots meant to show space and depth while maneuvering through the city. The use of CGI does this anime well. Some yokai or aliens are done in CGI at times, which gives them depth while also making them feel like something not of this world, since it's not done in the same art style as Momo and Okarun. So the CGI has been tasteful. It doesn't make me sick to look at for the most part. It's not blended badly either, as there are moments when the CGI blends into the 2D. So far it looks like mostly yokai, aliens, or sometimes buildings or items are in CGI, but get blended into the 2D animation really well. A good example of CGI being blended into 2D is during the fight with the Flatwoods alien in episode 2, as he is mostly CGI until he needs to be 2D. Another good example of CGI is the crab, as I do love its horrific design, and Turbo Granny herself appearing in CGI here, when Momo has to hold on to her. She's in CGI here to add depth, and it does that, as opposed to a flat 2D image coming out of another flat 2D image. Any of the spirits they end up fighting might have some CGI in them, which I can see being useful if it's used right. Because of how some entities are meant to be shown, I think the CGI has purpose. It's okay right now. It ain't winning no awards, but it ain't a dumpster fire yet either. What's absolute chef's kiss though is how this anime uses color. My goodness, Colors are so vibrant. Reds and blues in this anime are gorgeous. The opening is a good example in itself, which if you already haven't added it to your playlist, you're officially crazy. A good example of blue is the hospital, or more so the alien ship. This blue light, combined with the blur from the fluorescent lights in the ship, makes this scene pop so much more. A good example of red and blue contrast is actually when Okurun calls Momo's phone and goes through it. These colors contrast with one another. Beautiful, baby. Look at that. Another display of color can be seen during the Turbo Granny fight. Reds are super saturated. They look good. A good example being when Okurun first meets Turbo Granny and she takes him over in episode 1, or the Turbo Granny fight in episode 4. Most of the fight is in red. Momo's powers pop more in contrast to the red. While on the subject of color, let's talk about light, because this is something else the anime uses to its advantage. The moonlight from the hospital being a minor example, while a major example of light can be when Momo grabs the train. Light is often used to help progress the story in creative ways, or help convey an emotion, possibly giving more attention or giving a moment more impact. I enjoy how light is also used like an aura. At times in this anime, it's really cool. It gives off this vibe that we're dealing with something unnatural. A good example is when Momo takes her eyes off of Okurun while he's pooping and Turbo Granny takes over. The horror-esque visuals that the anime showcases are something I really enjoy. I like how much Okurun's body contorts and twists whenever he gets taken over, and how much it changes even in his transformation. His body is more lean and he's taller. The ghosts and aliens so far are very distinct, having their own designs and personalities as well. Granny's true form is cool to look at. Originally I was like, why her eyes to the side like this? But that's naturally how they're supposed to go. She's built like a chameleon. The crab's design is cool as well, having all of those faces and eyes on the body. Seeing these motherfuckers charging at you would make anybody freak out, like they on a mission, nothing is stopping them. So far, I'm enjoying this anime to the point that I've started reading the manga, so look forward to that once I've caught up. This is definitely an anime I'm going to keep up with, pending a review and rank once the anime is finished. This anime is good so far, but that's just my first impressions of Dandadan. I encourage you to go check out Dandadan for yourself and form your own opinion. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget you could do anything you put your mind to. I'm Redwater. And that's all for me.
うえようこそ神越しへ。